Welcome to RPG Atrocities, much in the same vein as Andrew Wood's RPG Horror Stories video series. I'm going to regale you guys with some of the horrible stuff I've seen around the gaming table. Because believe you me, I've seen some downright atrocious things happen around the table, as I'm sure you probably unfortunately have. I don't think there's any role player that walks the face of the planet that hasn't seen some horrible, just utter filth, trash in your games, and things that are best left unmentioned. Well, I'm going to mention those things. I'm going to throw it all out there, and hopefully by doing so, I will provide some entertainment for you guys, and maybe get some of these things off my chest. Because like I said, I've seen things that no man should be made to bear witness. And I myself have done some things that no man should have to bear witness or be a part of. But I digress, for in this tale, I was not to blame. I was not at fault for this atrocity at the gaming table. The game we were playing was Besom. I don't know what edition it was. I want to say it was like a 20th anniversary edition. I don't even know if the game's been around for 20 years. But we were playing Besom. Big eyes, small mouth, anime role-playing, for those of you that don't know. And it was a sci-fi campaign. The carrots in space. Right, you're probably asking yourself, the fuck are the carrots in space? Well, hold on to your panties there, dearie, because we'll get there. But by the time that we get there, you'll wish we hadn't got there. I could say that much right now. So, we're playing this anime role-playing game, and he tells us it's going to be a sci-fi role-playing game, so it's like, cool, you know? I was quite excited about my character. I'd made a pretty cool character. I was, because you can multi-class in the game, I was a giant robot as my primary class, but a mecha pilot as my secondary class. And then I believe a gun bunny was my third class that I could unlock at a later point during gameplay. But essentially, I was a robot that could port my consciousness into other robots or other mechanical devices and control them. So you know that was a pretty cool concept, way different for me. You know, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I suppose. But I just watched A Space Odyssey 2001. About the month before, so that's sort of the vein that I was going for. And of course it's anime role-playing, so anything goes. So we're playing this sci-fi game, right? And that's ostensibly all that he's told us about it is, yeah, you know, it's a sci-fi game. I believe a lot of people were playing Sentai members, and, you know, members of this crew. And it was a really cool campaign. I was really excited about it. It's like, yeah, I am the ship, you know, that we're going to be traversing space through. So, you know, it's just going to be cool dynamics. Like, am I going to be able to watch people shower because they're showering inside my bowels? I'm not saying I would want to watch them shower, but, like, you know, obviously when the player character is a ship, or any sort of robot really, but specifically, you know, something as large as the ship, the environment that, you know, 70% of your sci-fi game is going to be in, it's going to change things up a little bit. So, I was pretty excited about that. And, you know, of course, it's high fantasy, or high sci-fi, whatever you want to call it. So, we open up at a spaceport. I don't remember what the backstory was, why we were there. I doubt we had any. Because, well, it was his first time, to my knowledge, GMing, so there is that. I'll give him that give him that slack. But we were at this spaceport, and he's like, "All right, so you guys are going on this mission for the next 2 or 3 years into deep space." And I don't remember if he told us this, you know, out of character or through an NPC or just narrating the backstory, but that was ostensibly, you know, the setup is we're at this spaceport getting what we need, supplies and whatnot, for the next 2 to 3 years. So, it becomes apparent that he wants us to buy everything, and down to the last detail. So much to the extent that so you're going to be on this ship for the next 3 years. So decide what sort of vegetables and what sort of produce, and even perhaps what sort of meat or dairy production, or of course this is not very realistic, but what sort of stuff are you going to buy for your ship? So we're like, oh wow, we have to specify everything down to the T, because it's like, if you're on the ship and you want to eat a salad, say, well, we had to specify that we had bought lettuce, that we had salad dressing, that we had tomatoes, that we had like each individual ingredient for any given meal we had to specify during this first session. So the entire not the entire session, but the vast majority of the session consisted of us not even in-game, in character, which to be honest wouldn't have made it any more entertaining, but us just sitting there making a laundry list of the things that we needed to buy for this expedition into deep space. I guess, if you're going to run sort of a survival style game, maybe like a post-apocalyptic game, a zombie game where resources are low, or even some, low-level D&D where you need to track every minute detail of how much silver you have, how much gold you have, whose what's-a-mabobbit you have, the letter from fucking Aunt Jane, I don't know. Some genres that suits you well. And for a sci-fi genre, especially one where you're going to be in deep space, uncharted regions for years at a time, sure, arguably tracking resources can be part of the fun, I guess, at least part of the atmosphere and the challenge and the feel of the game. One of the obstacles, is what you have, and not running out or finding more from perhaps a remote planet if you need. I get that. So at this point, I was still engaged in the game. I wouldn't say I was having fun, but I was still into it. I was still invested. I was making a laundry list on my page of what we had, and how it was all working within the actual ship. Because I believe I was the purpose of the ship originally, before the other players found it, was, they don't know why, but I was a prison ship. They don't know what for, but I have holding cells. So working out amongst, and I wasn't a massive ship, working out where my holding cells were and where we were gonna keep our our plants that we were gonna grow there on the ship, and our produce, and everything. So that like I said, I wasn't having fun, but I was still into it. I was buying into it. So okay, so we're gonna have to track everything. So carrots, onions, pickles, bologna, fucking rye bread, I don't know, condoms, everything that we could possibly need, not just food, but things for the ship as well, we had to specify. So we did. And it took a hell of a long time. So that happened, and then, finally, we're ready to, take off from this spaceport. Oh, but before we do, also worth mentioning were the spumans. Yes, the spumans. They were the first humans to colonize space. Very creative name there. We still laugh about that to this day. But at any rate, I digress. After talking to the spumans and about what they'd learned from deep space, we finally set off from this spaceport. And I believe this whole time I actually, because I wanted it to, kind of like build up the big, well, not reveal, but like, I guess reveal of like my Iron Man suit or whatever physical body, robotic body I can, port my consciousness into when I need to be mobile, or, walking into a dungeon, as it were, with the group or whatever. I didn't want that this early on, so I believe I was just in like the Bluetooth, I was just in like, talking to the PCs were at the marketplace, the black market and the marketplace on this spaceport, and I was just telling them my 2 cents and what I thought we needed through there. So I was actually just, the ship was just there. My character was just there the whole time waiting, and of course I could sort of see what was going on, and I could hear, and I was putting stuff in, but my character was just there. But eventually, you know, after about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of gameplay, maybe, you know, that's being really fair. It may have been even longer. After way too long of simply, and mind you, this is the first thing that we've done in this game. We haven't opened with combat. We haven't opened with any specific NPCs. We don't have any motivations. We don't have anything going on other than buying carrots in space. Like that's what was going on, and that's all that was going on for the first 2 hours of this game. So after we finally leave the spaceport, you know, I'm thinking, now that we've spent all this time, you know, specifying what we have and how much of it we have and where it's going to go in the confines of the ship, and oh, well, we've reached our limit, so if we really want X, Y, and Z, we need to get rid of A, B, and C, or pick and choose because we don't have room for both. After doing all of this, we get in the ship to go out to our, you know, coordinates or remote planet, whatever it was in deep space, uncharted space. And I assume that since we've needed to specify all this, that it's going to be important, especially that since we spent 2 hours doing it. So we get on the ship, and we are cryogenically frozen, and we wake up about 9 or 10 months later within the orbit of the planet or coordinates that we were sent to. And it was narrated more or less as such. So, in other words, we just spent 2 hours doing something that wasn't particularly fun or interesting at all. It was essentially just making a grocery list for a sci-fi game. We spent 2 hours doing that. And now none of that is getting touched on. None of that actually matters. Like, I already had ideas in my head about how it would look on the ship and how everything was going to be, but I wanted it described in some extent, or, you know, I figured that the journey was going to matter to this place, and it didn't. We were just cryogenically frozen, and then we woke up when we were there. And if you can cryogenically freeze people and just wake them up years later, can't you also, like, just have pills that give them instant nourishment, pills that never go bad, and you could store, you know, 1 million of them in a closet? Probably. I mean, none of this even occurred to me until right now. Well, that didn't. But yes, it was like so frustrating that we had spent so long buying carrots and onions and bell peppers and ribeye steaks, those black market ribeye steaks in this futuristic society. We spent so long getting all that stuff. And then we were at this planet. None of it mattered. And then we got onto the planet, and we were scouting the planet for, I think we perhaps saw a ship there. I can't remember what it was. At any rate, this is where we're supposed to be, obviously. We're going to check it out, you know. We get on the land and start checking it out, and we are jumped by 3 space ninja monkeys. We're on an orange planet, and these purple space monkey ninja things attack us. And not like we came upon them doing anything strange, or there was no scene. We just ended up in combat with these things. And about, you know, I don't know how many rolls into the game, but halfway through the fight, at nowhere near the beginning or the end of the fight, just in the smack dab in the middle, not even at an epic moment. I believe at that point we were playing at the gaming club in town, and I think it was during a weekday, and they close at 10, so it was 10, so we had to end the session there, in just a completely wonk, not good place that just made no sense at all. But that wasn't nearly as bad as the carrots in space. Buying carrots in space for 3 hours is not fun. I don't care who you are. Well, you know, I guess I shouldn't say that. Somebody's probably going to comment on this. Oh, I bought leaks in space for 5 days in game time, and I had a great time doing it. Great, you know, if you like making laundry lists of things for a role-playing game that you're never ever apparently going to use or be touched upon, or nothing's ever going to be at stake, essentially, and it's not dramatic, it's not comedic, it's not anything. I mean, I don't know how that could be fun to anyone. So that is an RPG atrocity, if ever I have heard one, and if ever you have heard one too. I challenge you to find something worse to do. Well, perhaps not worse, there are worse things to do, but find something more boring to do in a role-playing game than buy carrots in space. We still talk about that to this day, just saying that around certain groups that I run with. So, space carrots. Well, just evoke a lot of laughter from some of the guys. Space carrots and spumins. So yeah, that is my first RPG atrocity. Hopefully, I'm gonna do more. I'd like to make a series out of this, because I do think these sort of videos are pretty entertaining. And yeah, be cool, everyone. And come on, don't make your players buy carrots in space. And if you are caught buying carrots in space, make those carrots matter.